The Light Reading Hall of Fame recognises the famous and the infamous who have made a notable contribution to the global communications sector. From its origination in 2010, this annual list celebrates the individuals, most of them human, who have made a dramatic impact on the industry, or who simply can't be forgotten. This year's list is no different. For 2019, we have 4 inductees into the hall, each of whom you'll remember for one reason or another, either during the past year or back through the history of the communications sector. So let's meet this year's quartet. With connectivity now supplanting video as the epicenter of the cable industry's relationship with the consumer, the development of DOCSIS and the subsequent meteoric rise of cable broadband services can be traced back to Dr. Ruth Bayani. Yassini, known within industry circles as the father of cable modem, and let's face it, we need some kind of parental figure every year, was the founder and CEO of Land City, a cable modem pioneer that was sold to Bay Networks in 1996 for a now seemingly small sum of $59 million. Northern Telecom, better known as Nortel, snapped up Bay Networks in 1998 in a stock deal valued then at $9.1 billion. With the cable industry now serving some 68 million broadband subs in the US alone, and with 1 gigabit speeds available to about 80% of US homes passed, according to NCTA estimates, it's clear that Yassini's baby has done well on its path to adulthood. Yassini, an entrepreneur and philanthropist who has headed up a venture capital company focused on startups, played a key role in the development of DOCSIS, the specifications managed today by Cable Labs that ensures interoperability between cable modems and the network side equipment. In addition to sparking a retail market for DOCSIS modems, that work also created a diverse product ecosystem and drove down equipment costs for cable operators. Big time. This time last year, the name Meng Wanzhou meant nothing to most people outside of Huawei, the Chinese equipment giant she serves as Chief Financial Officer. But her arrest in Canada last December on charges of fraud has put her on the front lines of the geopolitical clash between the US and China, and given her the notoriety of a Bernie Ebbers or Joe Naccio, the US broad bandits who received long jail sentences for dodgy dealings around the turn of the century. Meng, of course, has not, yet, been found guilty of anything. Currently detained in Vancouver and awaiting a possible extradition to the US to face criminal charges, she's accused of lying to US financiers about the relationship between Huawei and Skycom, a Hong Kong firm that sold telecom equipment to Iran. According to US prosecutors, Skycom is a front company for Huawei, an accusation the Shenzhen-based firm vigorously refutes. If the connection exists and Skycom's equipment included US components, Huawei may have breached US trade sanctions against Iran. It would also have involved US banks in financing activities linked to the Gulf state, and Meng could face years languishing in a US jail. That would mark a huge escalation in the dispute over Huawei. Meng is not just any CFO, but the daughter of Reng Zhengfei, the man who founded Huawei back in 1987 and who remains the company's de facto boss today. Meng is reportedly something of a business celebrity in her home country. The pursuit of criminal charges against her in the US is akin to the arrest on Chinese soil of someone like Chuck Robbins, the current CEO of Cisco. One can imagine the US outcry if that happened. So is Wanzhou a victim or a villain? You can decide. Either way, her notoriety gives her a place in the Light Reading Hall of Fame. Most of us take mobile connectivity and applications, as well as utilities and many other day-to-day services, for granted. But let's not forget that's not the case for everyone. In emerging markets, where the availability of affordable devices, any kind of reliable wireless connection, and access to data services can be life-changing, the introduction of mobile applications can transform lives and economies. That's certainly been the case in countries where traditional banking services have been unavailable to the masses, and innovators have addressed that vital vacuum with mobile finance services. One such innovator is Michael Joseph, who, during his tenure as the CEO of Kenyan operator Safaricom, spearheaded the development of M-Pesa, one of the world's most used and influential mobile finance services. It's fair to say that Joseph's pioneering work in bringing together all the elements needed for a successful mobile transactions and banking service, from regulatory support to technology development to helping to set up an agent distribution network, helped make M-Pesa a trusted service from the day it was launched in March 2007. Now, more than 12 years later, M-Pesa is used by more than 30 million users in multiple countries, processes more than 1.7 billion transactions per year, and incredibly, processes transactions to the value of about $40 billion per year in Kenya alone, the equivalent of almost half of that country's total annual GDP. Joseph's initiative has transformed lives and economies, and that makes him a prime candidate for Light Reading's Hall of Fame. It all started with a thwack, or maybe it was more of a thonk, or thumph. Whatever the sound, history changed just over 18 years ago at an optical fiber conference here in Denver, Colorado. There, some troublemaker took a swing at the giant bulbous head of a marketing mascot and ran away cackling like a comic book villain with allergies. Light Reading was on the scene with a full report, and there we first met Siena's very own Lightworks Lou. Lou, part of a Siena marketing promotion, was the telecom installation tech version of Everyman. Lou became part of the telecom industry's shared history from August 2000 onwards, and no one else in the B2B trade media had ever reported on a mascot assault with such unflinchingly serious detail as Light Reading. We interviewed eyewitnesses, a Denver police captain, and Lou himself. He didn't say much, but, well, we don't blame him.
It's been 5 years, 6 years since we've last seen you. You were accosted at a major trade show. Someone walked up to you and hit you right on the side of your giant bulbous head. Then you went away for a while. Now I see you're back, and people everywhere, our audience all over the world, really wants to know, what have you been up to? How have things been going? And what sort of projects have you been involved in? Wrench, okay.
Nothing went viral in those days, except actual goddamn viruses, of course. But the dramatic story of a marketing mascot that stayed on the job even through such adversity was a Light Reading mainstay for years to come, and the star of one of our most popular stories ever. And since that fateful day in 2000, Siena has prospered and is now a networking and software company. Light Reading has prospered too as the voice of the industry, and Lightworks Lou, now retired, had very little to do with any of it. But he did get punched really hard, right in the dome, and it still makes us laugh to think about it now. So we welcome Lightworks Lou to the Light Reading Hall of Fame.